Fine then. Okay, so I saw the syllabus that you had shared, and also, yeah, because your exams are nearing, right? So let's, like
Yes,
straight away go to that topic only.
yes,
So, see,
yes,
you
yes,
don't have much time to prepare, to be frank, right? So, what I have
yes.
decided is that we can start with specific relief act, okay? Firstly,
Okay, yes,
because only few sections are needed. The act itself is
okay,
very small, then few sections are needed, right? So, you can
okay.
straight away start preparing. Like from today itself, you can start preparing for your exams, right? So, I saw the
Along with
syllabus.
you.
Yeah, so I saw the syllabus
Hmm.
and I felt that, like specific relief can be completed in one day, and another day
Huh.
we can discuss some probable questions, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you are from Karnataka State Law University, right?
Yes,
Yeah, so one good thing is that you get like previous year question papers very easily on the internet. Okay, so have you
yes,
seen
yes,
any
yes.
previous year question papers?
Yes, yes. I've seen the last 10 years, but I've heard that the pattern has changed now. Previously, it was 100 marks,
Hmm,
and just last year they introduced the 80 marks one.
80 marks, okay. So 20 would be
Hmm.
like internal, is it?
Yes.
All right. So what is the pattern like marks and all marks division and all? What is the pattern?
Uh-huh. 10 marks, like unit 1, you will have 10 marks question, or
Hmm.
both unit 1 questions, this or this, and then 6 marks they will give two problems, this or this, like that. So, same pattern.
Same pattern for all the different units.
Hmm. Yes, yes.
All right. Okay, fine. So if you have
I'll be
already,
sharing with you.
yeah, if you have
I'll
already
share with you.
downloaded, you can share
Question
that.
papers.
Yeah, I saw like few
Yes,
two,
yes.
three
Sure.
question papers. So if you have already downloaded, you
Mhm.
can share that. So what we will do is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
today we will complete specific relief act, okay? Then
Okay.
tonight you can share the question papers. In some next class we will discuss the questions also, okay? So that
Yes,
like
sure.
it's not something different that you see on the date of exam, right? You can prepare
Yeah, yeah.
accordingly. Yeah, and then
Yes,
we
yes.
can continue with contracts and IPC as well in the same pattern or in the same manner, okay?
Yes, yes.
All right.
Okay.
So you can tell something like what have you prepared or what is your status in like contracts or specific relief act? Have you started with anything or what is it?
No, for IPC, I only studied what is rape and theft and its punishment. That's it.
Hmm.
And then contracts, I just started, starting only. That's it.
Start.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So
Mhm.
specific relief act you have not started, right?
No, no, because it is at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, at the end.
Yes,
Okay,
fine.
fine, got you. All right. So we will start with it at any point of time if you feel that something is not clear or maybe, like you just need the notes or something, okay? Anything you can just tell me, okay? Because
Sure,
it's
sure,
just
sure.
two of us. So you can
Yes,
just tell, okay, whatever it is,
yes,
you can
yes.
just tell
Yeah, yeah,
at
sure.
any point of time. Okay, sure. Then.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
So I will try to share one document with you and then we will. All right. So this is a document regarding specific relief act. Okay. Now this document is for all the different sections that we have under the legislation. But for your case, all the sections are not important. So whatever is important, we will discuss that part only. All right. So you don't have objective type questions, right?
No, I don't have objective type questions. It is for 10 marks and 6 marks the problem solving. That's it.
All right, fine then.
Huh.
So see,
Yeah.
when you have subjective type questions, right, you need to prepare something, right? Obviously, length of the question would matter, right? If it's 10 marks question, length would obviously matter. Take for example, there
How
is a six, yeah.
how much pages are we expected to write?
See, it depends on the your speed also, your writing speed also. Okay, it's not like some word count is limited. Obviously, if there is a 10-mark question and there is a
Hmm.
6-mark question, you are expected to write more for the 10-mark question and a
Yes, yes,
little less
yes.
for 6-mark question. But that again depends on your speed. If you can write 1,000 words and if I can write 1,500 words, someone else
Hmm.
can manage to write 2,000 words. That also fine,
Hmm.
right? So you should be able to express yourself in whatever limited number of words you can cover. If you can
Okay.
only write 1,000 words, that's completely fine. You can include cases, you can include the provision and things like that, right? If I can
Yeah, yeah.
write 1,500 words, maybe I can write a better introduction, better conclusion, which you may
Yes.
sum up in 2-3 lines also. So that does not matter.
Yes.
Ultimately, what you have written inside it is what matters.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So one thing that you can do is that I also used to do. So what you can do is, because only subjective type questions you have, right? So obviously if there is a question regarding injunction, that write a short note on injunction, or what is specific performance of contract, who can ask for specific performance of contract, right? Does not matter what question is coming from specific relief act, you can prepare one common introduction for any kind of question that may be asked. Okay, so what can you write in that common introduction? So what will you usually write in an introduction?
I will write in introduction the what is the meaning of specific relief act, when it was introduced, and when the modernizations came into it, and which was the landmark judgment for it.
Yeah. So what you can do for that is that you can remember the year. That specific relief act is of the year 1963. So whatever question is coming, you can just put a heading introduction, and you can start with, this provision is mentioned under Specific Relief Act 1963, which came for this purpose. Okay, so that can be one common introduction for any sort of question that would come for your case, right? Whether one question, two questions, whatever number of questions are coming. So I will give that to you when we are discussing the question paper, so that you can just prepare from that. And regarding the sections, right, whatever is important, today I will just tell you what this section is basically about, just a basic understanding. Then when we are discussing the questions, you would be able to frame your answers yourself, right? So we will move with that. So what is Specific Relief Act basically? Any idea?
No, I don't have any.
All right. So in case of contracts, right, when we enter into a contract, what happens is two persons make a promise, right? If today I am telling you that, okay, fine, I will help you with Indian Contract Act and IPC, and I will help you prepare for the exams, right? You also agree that, okay, fine, I will also attend the classes. Tomorrow, take for example, you are just being dependent on me, and after 5 days, just before your exams, I'm just coming to you and saying that, no, I cannot help you, I'm busy with some other work. That means what? It's a loss for you, right?
Yes.
Nothing can compensate that loss, right? Because at the last moment, you will not find anyone to help you, right? Because you were just relying on my words. So what
Yes.
happens is, there can be some specific type of relief. What is relief?
Relief that we get, like, okay, this is done, means sort of understanding that we get, that we are tense free.
Okay, so relief as in what normally we use, right? That I'm relieved, right? So same sense you can understand. What is relief? You have suffered loss because I did not fulfill my promise. So you will be given some sort of a relief by the court, right? So that is what relief. Now this is what? This is specific relief. That means it's not in terms of money, which we generally see in case of Indian Contract Act. A promise is broken, some amount of compensation will be provided, right? But in every single case, it may not be possible that only some amount of money is given and the matter is resolved. Like take for example, in your case, if I say that no, I would not be able to help you, last moment you do whatever you want to do. Even if I give you some amount of money, that will not be of any use for you, right? So what do you need? You need a specific type of relief, right?
Yes.
So that is what is specific relief. So what relief would you need? You will say that because you promised to help me, you helped me prepare for the exam, right? No, nothing else can compensate you for that. So this is what is specific relief is all about, right?
Yeah.
So under Specific Relief Act, we have two different types of reliefs. First is specific relief and second one is preventive relief. Okay, so under specific relief, we have different types of reliefs. Maybe recovery of possession of property, specific performance of contract, ratification of contract, rescission of contract, cancellation of instrument, declaratory decrees. All these are not important for you, but basically you can remember that some specific relief. You can remember this example only, that I made a promise, I will help you. Last moment, I am not helping you. So nothing else can satisfy or compensate this matter. I will have to perform my promise. So what is that?
Yes.
Under which category that thing will come? Can you tell me? So these are the examples of specific relief act. So under which category it will come?
Specific performance.
Yeah, specific performance of contract, right? Whatever I had promised, accordingly I need to perform. So this is what is important for you, right? This part is included in your syllabus, and then again injunction is included. Okay.
Okay.
And what is the difference between specific relief and preventive relief?
Specific and preventive. I can specific maybe that specific only, and
Yeah.
preventive maybe to prevent from some damages you give.
Yes, right. So to prevent from some sort of damages, right? That if I'm not prevented from doing something, maybe tomorrow you will suffer some kind of loss. So those would be preventive relief, like injunction. So do you know what is injunction?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, because in CPC only you will get to know that. So what is injunction basically? It's court's order, okay, to do or not to do something. Basically, court will ask me that you do this or you don't do this. All right. So that is what is injunction. It's like a court's order to do or not to do something.
Okay.
So take for example, you have torts also, right? I saw the syllabus. So in case of torts, you must have studied about nuisance, right? That I'm playing loud music at night. You cannot sleep because you are my neighbor, and you cannot sleep because I'm disturbing you. What happens in that case? If tomorrow you are going to court and saying that she is playing loud music and I am not able to sleep, if court asks me to pay compensation, does not matter what amount of compensation I'm paying to you, from tomorrow I can again start playing music, right? What will you do in that case? Right? So it's not enough that one time I'm paying compensation, that's done. Tomorrow again I can do that. So what relief would you ask for?
Cancellation of instruments.
Not cancellation. Cancellation of instrument is basically, take for example, there is a sale deed or a gift deed that I want to cancel. Not cancellation, but you will ask for an injunction. Injunction means court's order. So court will ask me.
Court will order.
Yes, court's order. So court will ask me that you pay this much of compensation because of all the nuisance that you created. And also from now onwards, you should not play music at night at this volume, right? So court would ask me to stop doing something. So that is what is injunction.
Okay.
All right. So in generally also you would see somewhere there would be like a building half constructed. There they would write that. Have you seen that? So sometimes you would even see they would put a notice that under injunction order so and so construction is being stopped.
Okay.
So why
so that is injunction.
Yeah. So why the construction work is stopped? Maybe because they did not fulfill all the guidelines. They violated something. So court ordered them that you cannot do this construction, right? You cannot continue with this. You stop this construction now itself here only, right? So that is what is injunction basically. So I think it's clear, right? What is specific performance of contract and injunction?
Yes.
All right. So if you have any confusions, you can ask me. So these are the two things that you need for your syllabus, right? Considering your syllabus. All right. So we'll straight away go to the sections only. From section 9, you have specific relief. All right. So for the general introduction, right, you can just remember that, okay, fine. In Specific Relief Act came in the year 1963.
Hmm.
It talks about
Yeah.
two different types of reliefs. One is specific relief, one is preventive relief.
Preventive relief. Yes.
Right? So if a question is coming regarding specific performance of contract, you can also mention that it's a type of specific relief mentioned under the Specific Relief Act 1963, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if a
Okay, yes,
question
yes,
is
yes.
coming regarding injunction, you can write it's a type of preventive relief mentioned under the Specific Relief Act 1963. So accordingly, you can start with your answer, whatever is the question being asked. So we will move to the topic.
Yeah.
All right, regarding. So where is it applicable? Applicability, can you tell me where this Specific Relief Act is applicable?
Specific relief act, in a contract where anyone assures to give service
No, like
to the person.
jurisdiction, like is it entire India, Karnataka, where is it applicable?
Don't know.
Okay, so do you have the Bare Act?
Yes, yes, I have Bare Act.
You have the Bare Act, right? Like hard copy you have or the soft copy?
I have hard copy also. I
Hard
have,
copy.
yes.
Okay, so you can
Yeah.
refer to section 1 and do you have it with you right now or no?
No, I'll have to get it from down. Shall I?
Okay, no, it's fine. It's fine. So in section 1, you would see that it talks about, right, for most of the acts, right, it's always section 1 that talks about scope and applicability. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So in case of, you would even get this document, so you don't need to write each and everything.
Okay,
I'll
okay.
share the document. Yeah. You can just
Yeah,
concentrate on this. So in section 1, what happens? It talks about scope and applicability. Okay. When I say applicability, it means the territorial, right? The geographical jurisdiction where it applies. All right.
Yes.
So this act is applicable in entire India. All right. So you, all right. So in case of constitution, you would know, right, that now what happens? Jammu and Kashmir was a state previously, right? It was given special status. But now what happened? Article 370 is being repealed. It's what is it now?
It comes. It is not state as. It is not given the special identity. It comes in India's territory only.
Yeah, it's a union territory, right? That Jammu and Kashmir is a union territory. Ladakh is a union territory. All right.
Yes.
Previously, what used to happen is that because Jammu and Kashmir was given special status, it used to have its own legislation. Even IBC was not applicable. Specific Relief Act, Contract Act, whatever legislation you name it, those were not applicable to Jammu and Kashmir, right? It was having its own legislations. But now, after that 370 was repealed and things happened, now most of the acts are applicable to Jammu and Kashmir. Same happens with Specific Relief Act also. So in your answer, you may also mention that Specific Relief Act is applicable to the whole of India, including the union territories of Jammu and Kashmir as well as Ladakh.
Yes.
All right. And if you are good at remembering, you can even remember that Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act of 2019 made this act applicable to Jammu and Kashmir. All right. So this is what it means. So its applicability is entire India, including the state union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. All right.
Yes.
So how good are you at remembering things, like, you know, like when you need to remember one question or answer, how good are you at that?
Actually, when the teacher teaches, at that time I can remember well. But in case I have not attended any offline class and I study on my own, then I can't remember. But this I can remember.
Okay, you can remember, right? All right, fine then. So depending on your ability, right? Some people are there who can remember just anything you give them, they will remember anything. So yeah, obviously it depends on you and you would know that better, right? So depending on your ability, you can decide what all things you want to remember, okay?
Yes.
Just because you only need two things from specific relief act, you can also remember the chapters. Which chapter is talking about specific performance of contract, right? You can include that in your introduction part itself, right? If there is a question regarding specific performance of contract, you can mention chapter 2 of the specific relief act talks about specific performance of contract, right? So it's
Yes,
depending
yes,
on your
yes.
ability. Yeah, you just decide that for yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's section chapter 2 that talks about specific performance of contract, and under that we have different sections, right? So these are the different topics that are being covered here. Specific performance
Yes.
of contracts, contracts which can be specifically performed, which cannot be specifically performed, persons for or against whom this order can be passed, and all that stuff is mentioned here.
Yes.
So you don't need the entire thing. Again, let me check the syllabus. I think you need from sections 9 to 16, and then few other sections like 24 and all. All right, so you need from 9 to 16, 21 and 24. So that part only we will discuss.
Okay.
So what is section 9? It talks about defenses respecting suits for relief based on contract. That means we can take that example only, like our example. So take for example, you are going to the court to file a case against me for specific performance of contract. All right. So defenses respecting suits for relief based on contract. If there are some reliefs that I have, right, whatever reliefs I can otherwise claim, those same reliefs I can claim here also. Like if a normal contract has been broken, you want to file a case for compensation. Whatever reliefs I could have claimed there, whatever defenses I could have asked for, same defenses I can ask here also, right?
Okay.
Just the difference is that you are not asking for compensation, you are asking for specific performance of contract. But that does not mean that I would not have those defenses or those grounds of excuse. I can still ask for all those grounds, whatever is otherwise available. All right, so this section is not that important also. But you can just remember that even in case of specific performance of contract, otherwise whatever defenses are available, same will be available now also.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
So next
can
is,
you just show that section chart again where everything is written?
So this is all about specific performance of contract under chapter 2. So you need from sections 9 to 16, then 21 and 24 you need.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So next is contracts which can be specifically enforced. Which can be specifically enforced as in for which all contracts you can go to court and say that I want performance of this contract only and I don't want anything else. This contract should be performed, right? So for which all contracts you can ask specific enforcement of that particular contract. That is what is mentioned here, okay, under this heading. Specific performance in respect of contract. So the specific performance of a contract shall be enforced by court. When you, that means you should go to the court and ask for specific performance. How you will ask for specific performance? It's court that will help you, right? So it is basically telling you how you can ask for specific performance, right? So if there is a contract between you and me, you will have to go to court to seek for this relief. Okay, so you can just remember this section also, that it is courts that will give you this relief. All right, so this is what is section 10 all about. Next, whatever sections are more important, I will tell you, okay? You can accordingly remember. Next is section 11. It talks about cases in which specific performance of a contract connected with trusts enforceable. So what are trusts?
Okay, trust, they are saying, okay.
Yeah, so what is a trust?
Uh, didn't get you the trust word or that trust
No,
the
that
people
trust
run?
organization, yeah, what people run.
NGO kind of, yeah.
Yeah, NGO kind
Hmm.
of thing, right? So
Hmm.
what are trust? Basically, it's like like an organization established by a group of people, right? So those people
Yes.
will work for someone else's benefit, right?
Yes.
There can be a trust that is working on maybe education of children in a certain village. So it's not
Yeah.
them who will be benefited, but children of that village who will get the benefit, right? Maybe they will open a
Yes.
free public library for students. Students can
Yes.
come there, read. Maybe they would keep some books, magazines, newspapers, whatever, right? So that is what is trust. So they are saying
Okay.
cases in which specific performance of contracts connected with trust are enforceable. That means there is a contract that you have made with a trust,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when can you enforce it? Can you enforce it in all times, or what is it? Is
Okay.
it clear? Am I going too fast,
Yes.
too slow? What is
No,
it?
no, no. No, no,
Fine,
no.
right?
You're going, yeah, fine, fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they are basically telling you in which all cases you can enforce a contract that you have entered with a trust. All right.
Huh. Yeah.
So specific performance of a contract shall be enforced when an act agreed to be done is in performance wholly or partly of a trust. That means you are there and there is a trust. There is a contract between you both. Okay. This
Okay.
contract is relating to performance of their, like whatever, for whatever purpose they have made that trust. If there is a trust that wants to promote education amongst children of a certain village, right? So that is their purpose, right? So you have entered into a contract with them that, okay, fine, I will be donating few books and you need to make those books available for the village kids, okay, for them to read. So
Mm-hmm.
you went there, you donated some 1,000 books. Now what this trust is doing is that they just said that, oh, we are not interested in, like keeping those books and doing all the stuff. So we will just
Huh.
keep those books here only. We will not allow the students to read those books. What happens in
Okay.
that case? You can go to court and say that I made this contract with this trust. I donated 1,000 books to them. I want that they keep those books available for children so that they can come and read. Right? So what you would
Yes.
want? If the trust is saying that no, I will return the books to you, you take your books. We don't want. Obviously, you would not want that, right? You would want that children are getting benefit out of those books. They can come and read
Yeah.
them whenever they want. So you will go to court and say that I want performance of this contract. Why? Because whatever the trust promised, it was under their, like area of work, right? Because they were promising
Yes.
that we will work for, like promoting education among
Hmm.
children,
Hmm.
and whatever you made the contract, it is coming under their work purview, right? So
Yes.
if it is something like that, you can ask for specific performance of a contract when it's made with a trust. Is it clear?
Yeah.
You
Yes.
want
Yes. It
any
means
other
that.
example or anything?
Yeah, no, I'll just say what I've
Yeah,
understood.
yeah,
Yeah, it means that in case I make a contract with a trust and which says that this is how you have to perform, and they don't do that, means that would be breach of contract. So in that case, this is applicable, right?
yeah, that is applicable. So if take for example, I am that trust and I am saying you that I am no more interested in your books, you take your books and go. You will feel that what will I do with those books? I don't need them anymore. So only I came forward to donate, right? So you will say that I don't
Yes.
need my books back. I don't need any other thing, but I want you to keep those books in this library so that people can come forward and read these books, right? So that is what it is. That's
Yes.
specific performance of the contract only. Nothing else can satisfy you, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So next one is, so there are basically two clauses under this. Okay. Firstly, they are saying what kind of contracts you can enforce. All
Okay.
right. Secondly, they are saying a contract made by a trustee. Who is trustee?
Trustee, the one who runs or puts money in the trust.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
the
donates money
members.
for trust. Yeah.
Yeah, so the members or the people who are there inside the trust, right? So a contract made by a trustee in excess of his powers or in breach of trust cannot be specifically enforced. So can you want to try what you understood by this clause?
Yeah. The trustee, he has all of his powers, the members of the trustee. So if they breach the trust, the agreement that we have made with the trust, so if they only breach the trust, then it won't be enforced.
All right.
Is it?
So yeah, so take for example, there is a trust and I am a trustee. All right. I am a person who is working for the trust.
Yeah.
I will not have like unlimited powers, right? My powers should be limited. That you can only do this, you cannot do this. You can only do this, you cannot do that, right? Take for example, there is a trust which makes contract with a third person to let him stay there. Take for example, there is a trust. They are having one building, okay, that is just lying vacant. So what they have decided is that, okay, fine. If people are coming to Karnataka, they don't have any other place to stay, they can come to our building, they can stay here. For 3-4 days, they can stay, they will leave. Okay. So being a trustee, I am given this responsibility that whoever is coming to our trust, you attend them and you take money from them and you allow them to stay in the building, okay, for 3-4 days or whatever it is. But what I am doing is that without letting the trust know, I told a person that you can stay here for 3 years as a tenant, you give me the money and you stay here. That means what? I am going beyond my power, right?
Yes.
I am not being given that authority that I can keep someone as a tenant. Just as a guest, I can keep them. So I am, what I am doing is that I am excess of my power, right? Whatever power is given to me, I am using it in excess, right? What was not even given to me. So in such cases, those kind of contracts cannot be specifically enforced. So the person cannot say that she only allowed me to stay here, so I will stay here. Does not matter what. He cannot say like that. Why? Because it will be against the trust, right? So if I'm doing such kind of a breach, those kind of contracts cannot be enforced. But otherwise, within the limits of my work and within the, like a scope of work of the trust, whatever promise I'm making, I will have to perform that.
Okay. And what if the person sues you that you made a false statement to him?
Yeah, so in that case, that will become a case under IPC, right? I will be answerable that I misrepresented myself saying that I have this authority, this, that. Those are different matter, but under specific relief act, relief will not be granted, right? Specific performance will not be allowed. So that is the matter. Is it clear? Section 11?
Yes.
All right. So this is with regard to trust, okay?
Yeah.
Next is section 12 that basically says specific performance of part of contract. Now in a contract, what happens? It may be one promise or a set of promises, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not that only one promise will be there, right? So what happens? Specific performance of part of contract. Take for example, there is a contract between you and me where I told you that I will help you with contracts also, specific relief also, IPC also. I will help you with, like landmark cases also. I will even give you some guidance with regard to how to answer the questions, right? That means what? There are few different promises that I have made, right, under one single contract. So specific performance of part of contract. That means, is it possible to ask for specific performance of only one portion or one or two of such promises, right? If there are 5 different promises, can you ask for specific performance of only 1, 2, or like limited number of promises, not the entire contract? Yeah, so that is what is section 12. specific
Yes, yes,
performance
yes.
of part of contract. So there are basically three different things, okay?
Okay.
Unperformed part is small, unperformed part is big, unperformed part can be separated. What is
Okay.
unperformed part?
Which you have not performed, means which you have
Yes.
not taught for this
Yeah.
case.
Yeah, which I have not performed or not taught in this particular case. So
Hmm.
when unperformed part is small, that means if I made 5 promises to you and later on I just say that, okay, fine, contracts and IPC is fine, but I cannot help you with specific relief act. That means what? Performed part is big and unperformed part is small, right?
Yes.
Majority of my promises I have fulfilled, but one or two I have not fulfilled. What happens in
Yes,
that
yes.
case? Secondly, unperformed part is big. I told you all of those things. Lastly, I told you I can only help you with specific relief act. That's all. Other things you deal with it. That means unperformed part is big, right? Many of the promises I have not performed, only one or two I performed. Unperformed part is big. Next one is unperformed part can be separated. So what is it? You want to try? Unperformed part can be separated.
From the contract, the part which is not performed, we will separate it.
Separate as in how will you separate that?
Uh, that maybe delete it or remove it.
But it's just an oral promise that I made to you, right? So how you will like remove it?
Separated from this contract.
Separated as in, take for example, it can be two different duties. One is completely different from the other. In this case, take for example, I'm saying that specific relief act, I'm not helping you with that. So specific relief act is a different subject, right? A different obligation. So it can be separated from the remaining part, right?
Yes.
But if I'm saying that under specific relief act, I will only help you with sections 9 to 12. That means it's one contract, few other provisions I'm not teaching you. You cannot separate that, right? It's one thing
Okay.
included in one. So that is what is separated or not separated, okay? You can take another example. I am telling you that I will be supplying some raw materials to you worth 50,000, okay? I also will help you with the delivery and all of that. Later on, I am saying that here is this 50, like the raw materials, you take it, you deal with it. That means it's one single promise, right? You cannot separate it, right? So that is what the difference is. Unperformed part can be separated. So what will happen in all these three different situations? Is it clear the differences?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay.
But can be separated means what? How do we separate it?
Can be separated as in just, it's not like from the contract we will cut out one portion or something. It's not like that. It's just that two obligations are completely different from one another, and we can say that, okay, fine, this part is performed, this is not performed. But if I am just teaching you sections 9 to 12 of specific relief act and remaining part I am not teaching you, what will you conclude? Have I taught you or not? It's confusing, right? Because half thing I have taught, half thing I have not taught.
Yes.
Right? So you cannot conclude whether I have performed the contract or not performed. But if I am teaching you one subject, not teaching you one subject, you can clearly say that this part is not taught, right? This can be separated. IPC can be separated from contracts, right? That is what is separated.
Okay.
Clear, right? Any questions?
Yes. No.
Okay. So what happens when unperformed part is just a small portion of the contract? In that case, what happens is that court may direct performance of the contract. That means either you can go to court and say that this specific relief act is not taught to me, and like accordingly it can be done. So when unperformed part is very small, court can ask that, okay, fine, what you do is that you do it, okay? So court may direct performance of the part that can be performed, right? Whatever part can be performed, court will ask that you do this part. And whatever small portion cannot be performed, for that you pay compensation to the person.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Take
Yes.
for example, here is an example for your understanding. A school made a contract with a vendor. Vendor means one person who is dealing with something, okay, like a seller or someone. A school made a contract with a vendor for supply of fabric for school uniform. Right?
Okay.
Vendor will supply fabric for school uniform.
Full uniform. Yes.
They also promise that they will get the clothes stitched, and if any alteration is needed, they will send their tailor and get that done within 2 days. Right?
Yes.
So there are multiple promises that are being made, that I will supply fabric, I will get the material stitched. If any alteration is needed, I will get that done within 2 days with the help of my tailor. Right? There are 3 different promises. Later on, what happens is that just before delivery, tailor left the job. That means I don't have any tailor to send for the alteration. So part can be performed and one part cannot be performed. That means I can supply fabric, I can get the clothes stitched, but what I cannot do is that I cannot do the alteration.
Iteration.
Right?
Yes.
2 things I can do, only 1 thing I cannot do. In that case, what happens is that any party can go to court and say that these 2 things I can perform, but one part I cannot perform. So, like, allow me to perform my part. So court will say that it's fine if you cannot manage a tailor, you get the other 2 things done, and for the tailor's thing, right, you pay some amount of compensation. If you have taken some advance money for the alteration purpose also, you return that to the school authorities. They will manage that themselves, right? So that is what it is.
Yes. Yes.
Is this part clear?
Yes. Yes.
So when majority of the contract I can perform, only small part I cannot perform. Any party can go to court. Court will ask that you perform whatever you can, whatever you cannot, you pay compensation for that and close the matter. Clear, right?
Yes. Yes. So it means that if you are not able to do the alteration work, so that you can pay for it or hire any other tailor.
Yeah, you take money from me and you get another tailor. I'm not going into that matter, right? I can tell the school authorities that you take this money and you get that done. Right? So school will do that. So it can be in any other example also, right? I can say that, yeah, maybe I have a bakery shop where I'm just baking, like cakes and all. So for someone, I took an order that I will be delivering a cake. I'll make the cake, everything. I'll deliver it on venue also. But last moment, I'm not getting any person for the delivery. I can say that, okay, fine, you pay me a lesser amount because I am not able to deliver it to your doorstep, but you manage that thing yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So that is what it is. It can be any example that you can take, right? Where one portion I am not in a position to perform anymore. Right? So that is what it is.
Yes. Okay.
So next one is the part that is left unperformed, right? The part that is left unperformed forms a considerable part of the whole contract. That means in the contract, whatever I am not performing, that includes a majority of the contract. That means mostly I cannot perform all these things. I can just perform this much. Right? Out of this entire contract, majority of the things only I cannot perform. Just a small amount I can perform. So what will happen in such cases? Only the remaining party can file a case and not the defaulting party. That means if I made such a promise to you that I will be doing this entire contract, later on it turns out that I can only perform this much, right? In that case, I cannot go to court and say that I can perform this much of the contract, allow me specific performance. I don't have the option. But who has the option? You have the option. You have the option because you are the one who is suffering, right? So the person who is suffering, that person has the option. He can go to the court and say that compensation is possible. Like if you want, you can say that, okay, fine, for this portion, you perform it. So court may order specific performance on case filed by the suffering party. The victim or the one who is suffering, that person will go to court. And if you want, court will say that, okay, fine, let her perform this small portion only, whatever she can perform.
Okay.
Right? And for the remaining one, you can, like manage it yourself only. That means if only small part I cannot perform, I can also go to court, you can also go to court. But if majority only I cannot perform, I cannot go to court, but you have the option of going to court.
Yes, only I have the option to go to court.
Yeah. So is this part clear?
Yes.
Next one is, it can be separated, right? There are 2-3 obligations, and these obligations are completely different from one another. They can be separated that, okay, fine, this obligation is being performed, this obligation is not performed, and this is performed, right? So we are not considering whether it's small part or big part or what, because all the obligations are different.
Yes.
If take for example, I'm a dealer of some electronic items. I told you I will be supplying you a laptop, I will be supplying you a fridge, and also I will be supplying you your phone, like your earphone. In that case, they are completely 3 different things, right? So it does not matter that washing machine is like a big equipment and your phone is a very small thing. That does not matter, because all the obligations are different, right? You can clearly say that, okay, fine, earphone was given to me, like fridge was given to me, or whatever it is, 2 things are given, 1 is not given, right? That means it can be separated. All these obligations can be separated by you. You can clearly say this is done, this is not done. Okay, so what will happen in such cases? If a contract is having 2 independent and separate obligations, right? It can be 2, more than 2, whatever number you decide that. Any number of obligations, one of which can be performed and other cannot be performed. I can supply you washing machine, I cannot supply you earphones. What will happen? Court may direct specific performance of the part that can be performed. Right? Whatever part I can perform, if I can supply the washing machine, court will say that you supply that only.
Okay. Still, can you just repeat it again? I didn't get it properly.
Yeah, sure. Last one you did not get, or which one?
Last one.
Yeah. So in last one, what happens? There are 2-3 different obligations.
Yes.
All are different from one another. I am saying I will supply you a washing machine. I will supply you a earphone as well. Later on, I'm saying I can supply you washing machine, but I don't have earphones with me anymore. I cannot supply you earphones. In that case, you can completely separate these 2 things, right? So we can go to court and say that I have a washing machine with me. I can supply that, but I don't have a earphone. I cannot supply that to her. So court will accordingly say that, okay, fine. Whatever you have, whatever you can supply, you supply that. For the remaining one, you can pay compensation, right?
Okay. So you'll pay me compensation for that.
Yeah, for the remaining one, I can pay. So this is what is section 12. It talks about performance of part of contract. Right? Not the entire contract you are asking, that entire contract you perform. Whatever you promised you perform. But you are asking for performance of some parts. It may be that majority part you are asking me to perform, or it may be small part you are asking me to perform, or it may be that 2-3 obligations are there, few of the obligations you are asking me to perform.
Okay.
Is it clear, or any
yes.
You want to be repeated or something?
No, it's clear.
Okay. So this is what section 12 is. So sometimes they may ask, like write a short note on specific performance of contract, right? So you can accordingly mention that there are 3, like it's section 12 that talks about specific performance of contract, and there are 3 different situations which we have. Unperformed part is small, where both the parties has a right to go to court. Unperformed part is big, only the suffering party has a right to go to court, and unperformed part can be separated, anyone can go to court. Whatever can be performed will be performed, whatever not, compensation.
Yes.
Is it clear?
Yes, yes, it's clear.
Okay. When I share this document with you, right, one thing is that this, whatever is written in black is from the barrack
Bold.
itself. Whatever
Okay,
is,
okay,
yeah, and whatever is in bold, that means that is the main thing. You can just read that and understand the section also. Whatever is in green means it's written in my own language with some examples. So if you are not understanding any subject, you can always come back to this document, read the examples and understand. All the different sections has examples, so you can just refer to those examples and understand.
Okay. And for answers, shall I refer this, or you'll provide another PDF for answers?
For answers, we will try to solve, like some answers, and then you can accordingly frame that, because again, it depends on your ability to remember, right? I cannot just tell you that you remember this or you write in this way, right? It has to be decided by you only. So which book are you referring for contracts or specific relief?
Specific relief, I'm referring that Act only. And for contract, I'm referring the IP block leaders link only, because the book I have, I'm not able to read much of it.
All right. Fine. Anyways, for specific relief act, I also feel that barrack is enough. Like even this is needed for judiciary also. So for judiciary also, people come to me and say which book to refer. I always say no need to buy any books. For specific relief act, barrack is always enough for that. Also, there are some books where, like you get notes for specific relief also, like Avtar Singh book you have for specific relief also. Yeah. But for many others, you have Avtar Singh. Okay, then you can do one thing, right? Like on the later portion, you have for specific relief one section you have, right? So that also you can refer. If there is a question regarding this, right, that regarding specific performance or part of contract, you can read what is mentioned in Avtar Singh book. There you would get some things. From there also you can pick up 2-3 lines. From the barrack you can pick up, and accordingly you can frame the answer.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So next thing is rights of purchaser or leasee against person with no title or imperfect title. Okay. So who is a purchaser?
The one who takes the service.
Yeah, something that a person is buying, right? Who is a leasee?
The one who gives, offers.
What is lease?
Lease.
Yeah.
To give.
With regard to property, have you heard, like
yes.
lease?
Lease on rent.
Yeah, lease or rent. What is lease?
I don't know. I just heard it.
Yeah. So what is the difference? What is rent?
Rent is the amount that we pay we are enjoying the service of living in some block or on place. So for that we pay.
Right. How you pay? Is it monthly, annually? How is it? Monthly. So for rent, what happens is that we need to pay monthly. Okay. If there is a house for which rent is 20,000, that means every single month I need to pay 20,000 rupees. Right? That is a rent agreement. Under rent agreement, every single month I will have to pay that much amount of money.
Yes.
Right? That is rent. What is lease now? Lease will be for a few years. It might be 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Okay. So what happens in case of lease is that I don't need to pay monthly rent, but there will be a commitment that I will stay in this house for 5 years, or I will stay in this house for 3 years. Okay. So accordingly, the duration will be decided that this is a lease agreement for 2 years, 5 years, 6 years, whatever it is. Okay. And I will not pay in thousands, but I will have to pay in lakhs. Okay. If it's take, for example, like lease agreement for 4 years, I will have to pay maybe 7 lakhs. Okay, 7 lakhs straight, right? Whenever I'm going there, on that moment only, I will have to pay the entire amount, no installments, nothing. But what will happen is that this owner, right, he will take these 7 lakhs rupees, he will use it, invest it, enjoy the benefits and whatever. After completion of the year, he will return that amount to me.
Okay, he'll cut some amount and then he'll return, right?
Mostly he will return, only depends on the lease agreement again. If he has mentioned that for painting or some services I'm deducting this much, he can deduct. Otherwise, mostly he will pay the entire amount back. Okay. So mostly why is it done is, take for example, one person is having a plot, okay, big plot where he is having one small house, but he don't have money to build like a building. So he will take 7 lakhs from me, construct a building, then he will start renting that out. Whatever money he gets, he will save, he will pay me 7 lakhs rupees, it's done, right? Rather than taking a loan, paying it for years, this is usually done. This is the usual situation. Yeah. So in Bangalore and all, you would mostly, like hear people saying that I'm staying on lease. Okay, so lease is this only, that for a certain duration it will be there, that for 4 years, 5 years, accordingly the amount would also vary. If it's 5 years, 6 years, amount would go higher, right? So that is the difference between rent and lease. So what happens? Rights of purchaser or leasee. Leasee is someone who is taking. If you are the owner of a certain plot, I am taking on lease, I am the leasee. Okay. And if you are selling something, I am buying, I am the purchaser. I am purchasing it from you, or I am taking that, like I am making that lease agreement. So I will be the purchaser or leasee, you being the owner of that particular plot of land.
Okay.
All right. So rights of purchaser or leasee. That means what rights will I have being a purchaser or leasee against person. That means person as in you, right? The owner. Against person with no title or imperfect title. What is title?
Title is we give before our name. That's also called title.
Yeah, but not that one in this case.
Yeah. Don't know.
Yeah, so obviously you will not know, because all these things you will study in CPC only. Might be some other semester you will get that. So what is title? Title means ownership of a property. All right. If you are owner of this property, you have title on this property. All right. So that is what is title.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So that is what is title.
Okay.
So title is you have ownership on a certain property. That means you have title on this property. All right. So rights of purchaser or leasee. That means my rights against person means you with no title. That means you don't have title. No title as in you are not the owner of that property. All right. Or imperfect title. Yeah. What is imperfect title and no title?
No title means you are not completely the owner, and imperfect title may count for minor, as if he may receive that title, but not now because he is minor.
Yes, right. So now he is not having that authority because he is a minor. Some guardian is being appointed to look after that property. And what happens is that this, or it may be like a joint property. Yes, you are the owner, but along with you, your sister is also owner, right? It's a joint property between you and your sister. That means you solely cannot take a decision to sell that property. You will need to ask your sister as well, right? So joint owner, or maybe it's a dispute is pending. There is a case going on in the court to decide whether you are the right owner or your sister is the right owner. So in such cases, we will say that it's imperfect title. You do have a title, but not that title is not perfect. All right. And no title means you are not the owner only. Right? You are not even the owner, nowhere related, but you are just representing yourself to be an owner. Imperfect title as in maybe a joint ownership, might be a minor, might be some dispute is pending, but you are just coming forward and saying as if you are the owner. Right? So what right I will have being a purchaser or a leasee against you who is presenting yourself to be owner of a property where you don't have title or your title is imperfect. What right I will have? Okay, that is what is section 13.
Okay.
So there are two situations. Sometimes in such cases, specific performance may be possible. Sometimes it may not be possible. All right. When it can be possible. When, yeah. You said
no, tell.
Yeah. So when specific performance is possible, even though you were not the owner, even though your title was not perfect, in what all cases can I ask for specific performance? So there are these three situations. Subsequent interest. What is subsequent interest? Take for example, you were a minor at that time, but by the time this matter went to court, you became a major person. That means subsequently at a later stage, you got the ownership, right? In that case, court can ask for specific performance. That okay, fine. While making the contract, you were not the owner, but now you are the owner, right? So you perform it. You get the contract done. Or take for example, it was a joint ownership between you and your sister, but you paid some amount to your sister and got the property transferred completely to your name. In that case also court can say that it's fine. At the time of making the contract, it was joint ownership, but now you are the owner, right? So perform it. It's fine. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Or might be a dispute was pending, but by this time the dispute is settled. You are declared to be the owner. So court will say that now go and perform, right? So when subsequent interest is attained, court will ask for specific performance. That whatever happened, that happened. Now you are the owner, you perform it. Is it clear? Or you want to be repeated?
Yes. No. It means like you can take that. I had an agreement with some builder. So at that time, the builder got death. So his everything responsibility or may come to his son. So when I took to the court, after some time he became major. So it's his responsibility to now give me that house that I had paid for, right?
Yeah. If he has inherited it, if he has inherited it, it will be on him, right? His responsibility to get it done. So it will be subsequent interest. So concurrence is needed. That means, take for example, like the property is yours only, okay? You are only the owner, like 99% you are only the owner, but just that your sister's name is mentioned, just for the namesake, okay? And the relation between you and your sister is such that whatever you say, she cannot refuse, okay? Whatever you decide, she will have to agree to it. Okay, in such cases, what happens is that concurrence is needed. That means your sister needs to agree just for the namesake. So in such cases, court will say that, okay, fine, you both are the joint owners, but your sister's consent anyways does not matter much. Whatever you say, she will anyways agree. So get her, like consent and get the agreement done. If it's that simple to get her consent and get the work done. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So next is discharge of mortgage property. What is mortgage?
Mortgage, we give now for loan if we want. We give our gold for mortgage.
And gold is usually considered as pledge. Property. We give property also, right? Property is also we keep
we
on
give
mortgage.
Our home papers.
Yes. So that is what is mortgage, right?
We give our papers.
Yeah, so I'll say I'm taking this 50 lakhs loan and I'm keeping my property on mortgage. Whenever I'm able to repay the amount, I will release it from the mortgage, right? So what happens? It is saying discharge of mortgage property. That means you are the owner of a property, but you had taken some loan and you kept that property on mortgage. All right, but you did not disclose that fact to me. You made a contract with me for maybe sale or for maybe lease. Okay, so the loan that you had taken is only 1 lakh rupees. All right, only for 1 lakh you have kept your property on mortgage, and you are selling that property to me for 50 lakhs. So what court will say is that because you are getting a bigger amount from the buyer, you use 1 lakh rupees from that amount and you get the property released, and then you like get the sale done. Okay, if you are getting a bigger amount from the buyer or from the leasee, you take that amount, you release the property, and you fulfill this contract, because it's possible for you, right? You have the money, so use that money and get the property release. So these are 3 situations where court will ask you to specifically perform the contract, even though your right was title was imperfect, or you had no title initially.
Okay.
Any doubt, any point you want to be repeated?
No.
Clear, right?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. And when specific performance is not possible, suit is dismissed for want of title. That means by the time I went to court, filed a case, court started hearing the matter, you did not get title. The matter was still pending, still your title was imperfect, or still you were not having title. So what court will do is that court will just see the papers and say that she is not even the owner. How can I ask for specific performance? So case is dismissed. Right? Court will not proceed with that case. So in such cases, court will straight away say that she is not even the owner. I cannot ask for specific performance, right? So case is dismissed. So in such cases, court would not ask for specific performance. Right? But if a later stage you are getting your ownership, you are getting your perfect title, court will ask you for specific performance.
Okay.
Is it clear till here?
Yes.
So these are all the examples and everything that you can refer. Next is contracts which cannot be specifically enforced. So we saw situations where contracts can be specifically enforced, right? Now here, when it cannot be specifically enforced. All right, so contracts not specific. You can just remember these tables. It will be much easier for you to frame your own answer and then write on exam, right? So how do you usually, like study? Do you prepare all your answers at home and then go and write, or you just frame it on, like in the exam hall?
No, I just understand the concepts and then keywords I remember, and then I write it on my own.
Okay, then that is good. You can just remember these, like tables I have made for most of the sections. You can just remember the table, right? And if here you are understanding what is substituted performance, what is perfect title, imperfect title, you can frame it yourself, right? You don't need to mug up everything and all of that. Yeah, that's good then. So you can just try to remember this table, and whatever I'm saying, right, for these words, you can try to remember that. You will be able to frame it. So contracts not specifically enforceable. There are 4 different situations when contracts cannot be specifically enforced. That means you cannot go to court and say that she will have to perform whatever she had promised. You cannot ask for that. All right. So what are these situations? Firstly is substituted performance. All right. So what is substituted performance? That means it is mentioned under section 20. We will just see what is substituted performance first. So what is substituted performance? Means you have, what is substitute basically?
Substitute. In commerce language, we say that tea is substitute for coffee. Like that.
Yeah, right? Tea is substitute for coffee, as simple as that. You wanted to have tea, but you already, like got coffee. That means it means that you will no more be interested to have another cup of tea, right? Because you already
Yes.
had something substitute, right? If
Yes.
coffee is substitute for tea, you already had a cup of coffee, you will no more be interested to for another cup of tea, right? So it is as simple as that. So here what happens is substitute. All right, so first is substituted performance. That means you have already got that work done by someone, right? In that case, court will not ask for specific performance. Take for example, there was a contract where you know, like take for example, you made a contract with me that I will be helping you with these two subjects, but then I wasn't replying to you on time, so you thought that maybe I am not interested. You went to someone else and you already, you know, like got all your doubts cleared. That means what? You already got substituted performance, right? Someone already helped you. Now you will no more be interested to take my help, right? So in such cases, contracts cannot be specifically enforceable. That means court will not again ask that you again take this also.
Yes.
All right. Why? Because substituted performance is already being taken by you. All right. Already the work is done. So as simple as that, you remember that coffee and tea example only. Next is what? Continuous duty. What is continuous duty?
Means you haven't stopped doing that, you are in process of doing.
Yeah, so if I'm saying I'll help you with contract, it's just for one semester, right? It's for just few days, right? It will not be like you will be reading contract like forever and forever you will be needing my help, right? So that is not continuous duty. But what is continuous duty? Something that will be continuing forever. All right, there is one example which will help you understand this even better. So there was this case, okay? You can remember this case as well. It's very interesting case. What happened is that basically there was this, in simple words, I'll just tell you, okay? There was, for example, there was one electricity department. Okay, electricity department of a certain state was there and company. All right, company was obviously using electricity and electricity department was issuing bills every single month. But there were some irregularities in the bill. Okay, they were just charging too high, some stuff they were adding, this, that. There were some problems with the bill. And this company, what they did is that they went to court and said that this is how they are preparing the bill, which is not correct. They should give these subsidies, this, that. It's not correct, basically. So what they said is that they asked the court that every single time when they are sending us this bill, you do one thing, you make and you ensure that everything is proper, bill is proper, all the things are mentioned, this, that, this, that. All right. That means what? It's a continuous duty, right? For, you know, like every single month they will be sending bills only, right? It's not like 1 year, 2 years ka matter, right? Every single month they will be sending bills, and court is obviously having other different things to take care of, right? So what court basically said that it's a continuous duty. We do not have that much of resources that every single month we will send someone from the court that you go to this department, ensure the bill is correct, then you get it delivered to the company. That's not possible, right? So it is what is continuous duty, that it's not something that court will just supervise for once and it's done. It's something which will be continuing forever. And it's not possible for courts that every single time they will be seeing that these things are being done. So in such cases also specific performance may not be possible and court will say that we cannot grant that.
Okay.
Is it clear? Continuous duty. Next is personal qualifications. So what is personal qualifications?
Personal qualification. But how is it related?
Yeah, so I'll tell you. Take for example, I am a singer, all right, or I'm an actor. Okay, there is a contract that I signed with you where I promised that, okay, fine, I'm a singer. I will be singing for you, for your bar or whatever you have. I will be singing for you for next 1 month. Okay, so for next 1 month, I am not making any contracts with anyone else. I will be giving all my time to you only. All right, so I'll be singing with you for whatever, whenever you call me, I'll be there. I'll sing for you. There is a contract like that. But what happened after making the contract? You believed on my promise, and you started publishing that everywhere. That we will have this live singer, this, that for one complete month and all of that. After 2 days, what happened? Someone else approached me and they were paying, like many times more than what you were paying. All right. So now what I want to do is that I don't want to sing for you. I want to cancel this contract and I want to make a contract with this other person. All right. So in such case, is it justified that I just say that I'm not interested to contract with you anymore because I got some other person? It's not justified, right?
No.
Also, singing is what? It's my personal qualification. Court cannot ask me that, no, you go and you sing there. If I'm not interested, I will not sing properly, right? I'll just for time pass, I'll be there, some random song, somehow I will sing. I'll not be interested, right? That means what? It will affect your business again. So in such cases, cases where personal qualification of a person is involved, court cannot ask for specific performance because there is no guarantee that I'll give my best in singing. If there is a contract where I made an agreement that I will be acting on this certain movie for you, later on I am just disagreeing. Even if court asks me, I will not do my best, right? I'll not give my best. Why? Because there is already a clash between you and me. So why would I give my best, right? So in such cases, court would not ask for specific performance, but rather court can give some other remedy. Court can ask me to pay a heavy compensation to you and also say that because you already gave your time for 1 month, for this 1 month duration, you cannot make any other contract with anyone. That means I'll have to sit at home only. I cannot sing for anyone else also, right? Because that will be a good lesson for me, right? Rather than forcing me to sing for you, right? So that is why in such cases, court will not ask for specific performance. Is it clear for personal qualification?
Yes.
I think this even happened with one movie. I forgot the name. I think Dhoom some 2 3 something. With Deepika Padukone, it happened that she agreed to act on the movie. Then she got some, like Hollywood offers. Like after acting for 1 month or so, she just refused that I'm not interested because I got this Hollywood offer. So this thing was applied that, like specific something happened regarding one movie. So that example you can remember that if an actor says that, because obviously all the efforts of this 1 month duration will be a waste, right? If someone just refuses in middle. So this is what is personal qualification basically, where court cannot just force me to do something because it involves some sort of skills or other personal qualifications of the person. Contracts of the detrimentable nature. So in this, what happens is that it is something where, like I have the option of putting an end to the contract. All right. Take for example, there is this example already given. I'll just tell you that. So take for example, there is a partnership that is there. Okay. We both are 50-50 owners. There is a partnership business that we are running. And in that partnership business, we have already agreed, all right, that whenever we want, we can put an end to this partnership business. We will give 7 days notice to one another and we will put an end to this like partnership business. Take for example, there was some sort of a promise or some sort of an agreement between you and me. By the time you go to court, file a case, ask for specific performance of the contract, I can put an end to the contract, right? So in such cases, court would not ask for specific performance. Why? Because already the partnership is dissolved by the time court orders for specific performance, right? So in cases where contract is such that parties are in a position to just, like close everything, put an end to everything, court would not ask for specific performance.
Okay. Yeah.
Is it clear?
Yes, yes.
So these are the 4 things. So it's very good that you write your own answers. You can just remember these tables. That okay, fine. Section 14, contracts where specific performance is not possible, substituted performance, continuous duty, personal qualification, contracts where it's very easy, right, for the persons to just put an end. By the time court's order would come, they can just close everything and it's done.
Yes.
So this is section 14. Then we have 2 more sections from this part. There is one more provision, section 14A, power of court to engage experts. Okay, this is very simple. We cannot just decide what kind of cases may come to court, right? We can end up making any sort of contracts, right? So what happens? Sometimes for courts, it may not be possible to understand the matter, right? There may be a contract that we both have entered regarding maybe some kind of scientific discovery or something. All right. So court, the magistrate, lawyers, whoever are present in the court, they may not have that much of technical knowledge regarding it, right? So what happens? Court can engage experts. That means whenever court feels that this matter is something where we don't have that much of knowledge, maybe we want some experts guidance or help, they can ask for that. All right, take for example, there is a contract between you and me. You told me that you do this particular discovery, you know, like you develop this vaccine. All right, you develop this vaccine and I will be paying you this much amount of money, and you just have 2 months of time for, you know, like to develop this vaccine. What am I doing is that I'm just, you know, like stretching it unnecessarily. I took 1 year duration to produce that vaccine, and all this time I was taking money from you. So for court, it's difficult to know whether discovering this vaccine would require 2 months time, 1 year time, or what is it, right? Court would not know that. So what court will do is that court will engage some experts who are already doing those kind of discoveries, right? Court will bring those persons and ask how much time usually will be taken in this kind of a discovery. All right, so that expert will basically help the court, right? So whenever matter is such that court would need to understand it in a more technical way, they can ask for someone's help. Those persons will come, they will give guidance. Whatever fees needs to be paid to them, parties will have to pay. As simple as that. All right, experts will be coming for any kind of matter where court feels that we don't have that much of knowledge, maybe we need an expert.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yes, yes, yes.
Whatever is important, I have anyways made that bold, like assist on some specific issues, engage 1 or more experts, how many ever is needed. They will submit some reports. They will be produced, you know, like be present there. They will give some relevant information, expert produce, provide access, opinion, this, that, whatever is important, I have anyways made that bold. Just main thing is that some experts can be invited by court. Parties will have to pay for the expense. Next is persons for or against whom contracts may be specifically enforced. That means who can go to court, who may obtain specific performance, right? Who can go to court and ask for specific performance. All right. So these are the categories of persons. Any party to the contract, the company, this side, in any party to the contract, representatives or the principal, persons beneficially entitled, then reminder man, reversioner or reminder man, new limited company, new company. All right, so these are the persons basically who can go to court and ask for specific performance of contract. All right, so you can try to remember just the names of these persons. This is a very common question that I have seen, okay, being asked, that who may obtain specific performance. So you can just remember the names of these persons, basically this table, and you can answer that yourself. So who are these persons? Firstly, any party to the contract, right? If there is a contract between you and me, either you can go to court, ask for specific performance, or I can go to court, ask for specific performance. Yeah, your internet got disconnected, I think.
Hello?
Yeah, am I
Yes,
audible?
yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, okay, yeah. All right, so who can go to court and file a case, right, for specific performance of contract? Firstly, any party, right? If it's a contract between you and me, either you can go to court, I can go to court. Anyone can ask for specific performance. The representative in interest or the principal, right? If it is, take for example, there is a contract with an agency, their representatives can also file a case, or the principal can also file a case, right? Basically, the legal representative, what we say, right? They can also file a case.
Yes.
In case of contract for a settlement on marriage or compromise of doubtful rights between members of same family, any person beneficially entitled thereunder. So if there is kind of a like a contract with regard to marriage, then parties who are involved in that or who are getting benefits under it, they can file a case for this. Take for example, if the groom's parents brother makes an agreement to hand over a piece of land at the time of marriage, the same can be specifically enforced. If there is a land dispute among three brothers of the family and they made an agreement to make a compromise on the same, any one of them can demand specific performance. Basically, whoever is getting benefits out of it, they can like ask for specific performance. So if there are three brothers, one single property, they decided to divide it amongst themselves. Later on, they are not doing it. Any of the brothers can go and file a case, right? With regard, yeah. So you can just, no need to explain that much. Also, you can just remember. This is enough, okay, to remember who all are the parties.
Okay.
When the contract has been entered into by a tenant for life in due exercise of power, the remainder man.
Reminder man means?
Yeah, so this is the example which will help you understand. A gave his property as a tenant for life. What is tenant for life? Basically, till the time you are alive, you stay in this particular property. That is tenant for life. Okay. So A gave his property as tenant for life to B. So A was the owner. He told B that you stay on this property till you die. And after you die, what happens is that the property will be transferred to C. Okay, after you die, property will be transferred to C. Here, C is the remainder man. What is remainder man? After that, he is the one who is remaining, right? So the one who is remaining, that is the remainder man. C can ask for specific performance of any contract that B has entered with someone in case B dies. Take for example, B was a tenant for life, right? For life, he was about to stay there. He made a contract with someone. Before the contract was completed, he died. Now C is the owner, right? He is the one who is remaining. So he has the right to go and ask for specific performance. Is it clear?
Okay. Yes, but the A gave this to B now for his life, tenant for life. If B is alive, then how can C have that right?
No, B is not alive. After B's death, C can go for this. Take for example, I'll just give you an example. Okay, A is, take for example, there is a father. All right, there is a father, there is a son, and there is one, like aunt. Okay, like this father, his sister is there who is an aunt, and there is a son. All right. So father wants to get the property transferred to son, obviously, right? Because
Yes.
yeah, father will obviously want it to be transferred to son. But what happens is that this aunt is not having any source of income or anyone to look after her. So what he said is that the property is yours only. You only will get the property, but you will have to allow your aunt to reside here till she dies.
Okay, okay.
All right. So what happens? Son becomes the reminder man, because after father's death, after aunt's death, he will be the one who is remaining,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And he will
Yes,
be the
yes.
owner. So take for example,
Okay.
father also died and aunt made some agreement with a person regarding the property. All right. But before that agreement was completed, aunt also died. In that case, because he is the one who is remaining, right? He can ask that other person that you perform this promise that you made to my aunt. Is it clear?
Okay. Yes, yes, yes.
Next is a reversioner in possession, where the agreement is a covenant entered into with his predecessors in title, and the reversioner is entitled to the benefits of such covenant. Okay, there is one more thing. A reversioner in remainder, where the agreement is such a covenant and the reversioners is entitled to the benefit thereof and will sustain material injury by reason of its breach. Take for example, there was one example, I'll see. Okay. So if there are, so before what happened was that women were not having right to hold property, right? So before all these amendments and everything came. So so it's related to that time. If there are two brothers, A has a wife and B has a son, all right? So what A is having, A do not have any son, daughter, anything. He is just having one wife, and B is having a son, and both of them are holding one property. That means these two brothers are having one single property. One is having a wife, one is having a son. Now what happened? A died in 2020 and B died in 1919. That means both the brothers died. After A's death, his wife can enjoy the property till she is alive. That means she, being wife of her husband, she has a right to stay in the property, but she will not be the owner. Okay, that was the difference. That means after her husband died, she has a right to enjoy the property till she is alive, but ultimately, right, ultimately it will get transferred to a son. Okay, to a male person only. So it will get transferred to this son only. So what happens is B is reversioner in remainder. That means lastly he will be the person who will get the property. So this is just a technical term that we use, reversioner in remainder. That is the son. Until A dies. That means until he dies, he will be the reversioner in remainder. Okay. When A is alive, she is also staying there. B is also staying there. B will be reversioner in remainder. But once A dies, what happens? B will become reversioner in possession. That means he got the possession, right? So like that you can remember. Once she dies, he got the possession. So that is why it is called as reversioner in possession. It is reversioner in remainder. That means he will be the one who will, with whom property will remain, right? So he will be the reversioner in remainder. Is it clear, the differences?
Yes, yes. Yes.
Yeah, so no need to explain that much. Also, you can just try to understand the differences, and accordingly you can mention that reversioner in remainder can also go, reversioner in possession can also go. Okay, so if that wife made some kind of an agreement with someone, that agreement was unfulfilled, then this son can also, go and file a case and get specific performance.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So if A dies, she made a rent agreement and she died, then what happens? B will have a right to file a case for specific performance of the contract against that person. And son will eventually be going to be the owner of property, so he can file a case for specific performance of the contract. Okay, so you can just remember reversioner in reminder, reversioner in possession. So these are the two different categories of persons who can also go to court and file a case.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, yes.
Next is limited liability partnership. Okay, so all right. So next is reversioner in possession, reversioner in reminder is done. So new limited liability partnership and new company. These two are again same. All right. So why are we mentioning new here? New limited liability partnership and new company. Take for example,
Because
there. Yeah. Tell.
Because if the limited liability partnership is old, then there may be some members, then one might have left and two may be remaining. So there may be some issues like that.
All right. So it's not that new, but it's a different
Okay.
new that they are meaning. Okay. So what is
Okay,
this
okay.
new here is, take for example, there are two different, we see, right, mostly that these two companies have merged, right?
Mm-hmm.
This company bought this one, right? That okay, Punjab National Bank bought United what was that? United something, some bank they bought. Like that, 2-3 different companies being merged, we often hear, right? So that is what is
Yes.
meant here, new. Take for example, there were two companies, all right? There was one company A, there was another company B. Both of them decided to join together and form a new company C. In that case, that new company C can file a case for specific performance, or if it's a LLP or limited liability partnership, that new C, limited liability partnership, can also ask for specific performance of contract.
Okay.
Okay, so that means two existing companies or partnerships are there. Both of them decided to come together and form a new one. That new company or limited partnership can file a case for specific performance of contract, right? When they were company A and company B, maybe they made plenty of agreements, right? So whatever is unfulfilled, they can say that we have just changed our names, right? We are still the same company. So accordingly, they can ask for specific performance of it.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, yes.
Next is the company. What is the company? Take for example, I decided to open a company, start a company. Okay, but I don't have money with me. What I will do is that I decided that okay, fine, I want to like start this company. For that, I would be needing 5 laptops, table, chair, this, that. I would be needing some amount of money. So what I'm doing is, before starting off the company only, I made contracts with different persons. Okay, maybe I went to you and I made a contract with you that you supply me 5 laptops. I will be paying you the money later on. All right. I went to another person, said that you pay me, like you give me 5 tables, 5 chairs. I will be paying the amount at a later stage. Like that, I made some contracts before starting the company. That means what? Those agreements were made in my name, right? I was a party to those agreements. I was a party. But later on, what happens is that company was started. Then I thought that maybe why to make myself liable, I can like mention company's name, right? Because it's a company for which I have made the contract. So we both can decide and decide that okay, fine, I will just remove my name and I will just mention my company's name. So that anyways does not matter to you or me. So if you agree, I will just mention company's name, and in that case, this company's name, I can file a case for specific performance.
Okay.
Is it clear, or you want it to be repeated? Company?
No. When today you'll send me this PDF, no?
Yeah, I'll just remove the other whatever is not necessary, and then I'll be sharing.
Yeah. If you share this way also, then I'll be easy to recollect it. So in case I have it out, then I'll be asking you tomorrow. Like that.
Yeah, sure. So like this, you can just remember any party to the contract. You can explain in one line that whoever are the parties, this representative or
Yes.
principal, whoever is this, like that. You can just remember this chart and it will be done. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes.
15 is done. Then you have 16 also. 16 is personal bars or to relieve. What is bar?
Don't know. Maybe measures.
Personal bars. Bar as in, we say, right? You know, like sending a person behind bars. What is behind bars?
Yeah. 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 Okay. That I got.
What is behind bars? Sending someone behind bars.
Sending them to jail.
Yeah, sending them to jail. When you are sending someone to jail, that means what? They are restricted, right? They cannot come out whenever they want. So this is what personal bars to relief. That means relief is some sort of a relief that you are getting, right? So personal bars to relief. That means you will be restricted from enjoying these reliefs. What kind of restriction is it? It is personal restriction. That means you have done something because of which you will be restricted from getting this relief that you want to seek. For this case, it will be specific performance of contract. That means you have done something because of which you will be restricted from asking this relief of specific performance of contract.
Okay.
All right. So there are three different situations where you will be restricted. First is substituted performance. Again, you wanted to drink tea, you already had coffee. So it's your problem, right? So you will be restricted. You wanted some sort of a service from me, you already took it from someone else, so you will be restricted. That's a personal bad, right? I have not done anything wrong, but it's you because of which you cannot ask for it. All right. Incapable of performing, and lastly fails to prove readiness. What is what is incapable of performing? He became incapable of performing the contract. Okay, take for example. What is incapable of performing? That means you are no more able to perform the contract. All right. I can give you one example. For example, I am a company, okay? I have made a contract with you that I will be hiring you for my company. Later on, what happens? My company itself got some blacklisted, that company itself dissolved, right? I don't have the company anymore. So if I don't have the company anymore, how will I hire you, right? That means incapable of performing, right? I am no more capable of performing the contract.
Okay.
Right. So that is also a personal bar, right? I'm no more in a position to do that. Or maybe I was saying that, okay, fine, I will, like what other example can I give? Take for example, I was saying that I will be, buying this washing machine from you, but now I don't have money to buy washing machine. That also will be a personal bar, right? Even if you are coming forward, I am not in a position to perform the contract also. So that also is a personal bar that I'm no more capable of performing it. Lastly, fails to prove readiness. What is readiness?
Your willness.
It's like readiness only. Okay, readiness means I should be ready. Okay, that means when there is a contract between you and me, I should be ready to perform it. When I fail to prove that I was ready, that is also a personal bar. I'll just give you an example regarding it. Take for example, there was a contract between you and me where I agreed to sing for you for 1 month. Okay, I told you that, okay, fine, from first of March 2021, I will be singing every single day. On 1st of March, I went to your whatever establishment you have. I went there, but you did not allow me to sing. Second also, I went there, you did not allow me to sing. That means what? I was ready to perform my part, but you did not allow. right? So that in that case I can ask. But if I fail to prove my readiness, that means I made a promise that I will be singing, but I did not go there itself. I was not even present. In that case, I cannot say that, oh, she did not allow me. I should be present there, right, for you to allow me to sing.
Yes.
Right? So if I am not present there, later on I am complaining you did not allow me to sing, that should not happen. That will be a personal bar. I should be in a position to prove that I was ready to perform my part if you allowed me.
Yes.
Is it clear the differences between these three things?
Yes, yes.
Personal bars, okay. Substituted performance. Okay, so this was all about the, like specific performance of contract, what is mentioned in your syllabus, all right? Few of the sections that you have, then few more sections are there, like section, okay, 21 and 24 is also there from this part only. We'll just quickly see just two sections. Sections 21. Power to award compensation in certain cases. That basically means even though you are going to court and seeking for specific performance of contract, if court feels that you should also be provided with some amount of compensation, court can provide you that. Okay, so just because you are asking for specific performance, it does not matter. It does not mean that you are not entitled to compensation. If court feels that you should also be paid some amount of compensation, court will ask for that, right? Court will make me pay that compensation because of any sort of maybe inconvenience that you have faced, any sort of trouble that you had to face. Court can ask me to pay compensation along with specific performance of contract.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yes, yes, yes.
So compensation also they can ask for, asked to be paid. Next is 24. Yeah, 24. So bar of suit for compensation for breach after dismissal of suit for, what is dismissal of suit?
Not accepted the case.
Yes, right. Not accepting the case, right? When you go to court, file a case, court will say that we are not entertaining the matter, right? Not accepting the case, right? So bar of suit for compensation. What is bar?
Bar, as you said earlier, that's the thing.
Yeah, restriction, right? So bar means restriction. So restriction of suit for compensation. That means you are being restricted to go and file a case for compensation. All right? And you will be restricted for breach, compensation for breach. Okay, so you will be restricted from filing a case asking for compensation for breach. When you will be restricted? When your case for specific performance was dismissed. That means firstly you went to court and said that like she should perform whatever promise she made, specific performance of contract, but court said that no, we are not even entertaining the matter. Court dismissed the case. If court dismissed your case for specific performance, you cannot again go and ask for compensation for breach. Court, that is a bar, that is a restriction, right? So if this was not entertained, that means obviously your case is not strong enough for court to entertain. So this also will be a restriction. You cannot go to court. That is what this provision is.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yes, yes.
All right. So all the other provisions, any doubts or anything?
No, I'll just go through it once, and in case I have any doubt, I'll ask you.
Okay, fine then. So this was about specific performance of contract. Okay, few more provisions are there regarding injunction that we will discuss next time.
Okay.
All right. So like 2 hours, is it too much, or what? Do you want some like few minutes break in between, or is it fine?
No, it is fine.
Fine, right? Okay, fine then.
Yes, yes, it's fine.
Yeah. So fine then, so you can just go through this document. Whatever is in black is from the parent, whatever is in green is just the explanation, example and all that stuff, right?
Okay, okay. Yeah.
So you can just go through your syllabus also, and also the question papers you can just send me, okay? I'll just go through them.
Yes, yes, sure, sure.
Yeah.
I'll send you about the 100 marks previous, but now it is from last year. It is introduced for 80 marks. So I'll send
80
you all of
marks.
them.
Yeah, sure then. Okay, fine then. So next, these things we will continue in next class, all right? The injunction part. And also if you have any questions or anything, you can just, maybe you can let me know that previously also, or in class also you can ask, okay?
Yes, 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 sure.
Yeah, okay, fine then. So we'll end up here only, okay?
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
all right. Yeah, thank you.